In one word, paradise. That's the description of the garden I often give people. There's nothing like it that I know of, quite like it, in Puget Sound. I learned gardening basically from my father. My father gardened every Sunday, but my interest in horticulture probably has several roots. First and foremost, it was working with the customers that utilized the Kruckeberg press. My grandfather's business, the Kruckeberg press, the niche was horticultural publishing. He published catalogs, published books. He started the first agricultural newspaper in California. I went to the press many times and see my father at work. One of the other stimuli was working in a nursery for Theodore Payne, the pioneer in native plant gardening. I became very good at the flora of Southern California. The interlude in the Navy has had a special impact on me, mostly through the Japanese language. Being competent in the Japanese language has been a blessing. This garden is substantially populated with plants from Japan. A maple from Japan, Acer japonicum, beautiful plant, and we've had it in that box for about 30 years. Marine's interest in gardening and botany was very serious. We had decided that our Capitol Hill garden was too small, so we looked for a place, and Marine found this in 1958, built in 1904 as a farmhouse. It's now considered a historic house in the city of Shoreline. The uniqueness of the property was probably, in part, the rich native vegetation east of the house, plus the topography. So on that foundation of natives like Douglas fir, Oregon grape, sword fern, and the like, we built this garden with great diversity. And so largely what we have here is the result of her judicious placement of plants and artifacts. Given Marine's talent as a propagator, both from cuttings and from seeds, she began finding that she had more plants than she needed for the garden, and then she realized she converted into a modest little business. Probably in the early 70s, she started the nursery. She named it MSK Rare Plant Nursery, and she meant to fill a niche that nobody else had, making available to the public plants that aren't available in nurseries, unusual, desirable plants, and that's what we've maintained ever since. The uniqueness of the garden is a blend of at least 3 or 4 attributes. By that I mean placement of plants, paths, the use of the native vegetation in combination with plants from other worlds, the rich diversity of the garden, the unusualness of many plants that you won't find in any other garden in the West. The number of species varies from year to year, but I'd say it's upward of 2,000. Bringing the collection together has both common and highly uncommon sources. Did I ever tell you how I got this tree?
No.
From Vladivostok, 2 seeds.
Wow.
Both of them germinated. I'd say the most substantial resource has been through my connection with the University of Washington Arboretum. Many of the plants out here that you see as mature came to me as seed. Some of the trees in the garden have been determined officially as champion trees, which means that they measure in girth, height, and spread to be the highest individuals of that particular species. So a good example, for instance, is eastern chokecherry. There's no other individual like that as big in Washington. long-term vision of the garden is, on one hand, easy to define, should perpetuate what's here and enrich it as things die. Even plants aren't perpetual. Remembering that the garden is dynamic. It changes both in terms of growth, maturity, and senility. Plants have a finite lifespan. Then I think the other long-term goal will be making the garden accessible to the public in a meaningful way, not just as a showplace, not just as a park, not just as an aesthetic pleasure, but as an educational device. And then maintaining the nursery, that's vital. The fact of having a viable nursery in a botanic garden is quite unique, especially when most of the nursery plants are propagules from the garden. The very fact that Shoreline has purchased it with the full intent of perpetuating it as a garden and not as a playfield is very heartening. How the garden affects me, heart and soul, it's what keeps me alive at age 90.
Oh, plural. Oh, God damn, it's come up. Wonderful.
I work in it. I thrive in it. I enjoy people enjoying it. And I'm continually delighted with what it looks like. I guess the last thing I might say is it's been a good life. Everything from growing up in a family of remarkable parents and brother, enjoying an academic life, to a good life with family and friends and flora and fauna. So I've had a life that has been totally rewarding. Some of my most favorite woody plants would be Pinus pumila, Cornus capitata, Styrax obacea, Cornus clusa, Picea wilsonii. How do I stop? Tsuga mertensiana, Styrax japonica, unbeatable Picea orientalis, Acer henryi. I'd start with those trees.